Hello, welcome back to Emoji Comes YouTube channel. My name is Godwin. We're looking at duopoly, which is another type of a market structure. There are two major types of market structures. You have the perfect market structure, and then you have the imperfect market structure. So under the perfect market structure, these are perfect market, like that's just it. But then under the imperfect market structures, then you can have a couple of them. So we have monopoly, um, you have a monopolistic competitive market. You have oligopoly. You have duopoly. Right. You may even have monopsony, duopsony. So all those ones that end in sonies, right? They are talking about the number of buyers that you have in a particular market, and all the ones that end with polies, they're talking about the number of sellers that you have in a particular market or industry. So a monopoly, for example, mono meaning one, then poly refers to number of sellers. So that's a market structure that contains just one seller. A mono, one, poly, the seller. All right, so duopoly, which is what we want to talk about today, it's a market structure that contains two sellers. Or in the real world, a market structure that contains two major sellers, in the sense that the two major sellers have the biggest market share combined. So it's more or less like A, B, and others. So A is like maybe A probably has 40% market share, then B probably has maybe like 45% market share. So combined, they have 85% market share. And so there may be other what do you call it now, other firms that are managing the remaining 15% among themselves. They may be up to 100 and managing 50, or maybe don't let me say 100. Okay, that would be like too much. So let's say maybe like 10 managing the remaining 15%. So as long as there are two major sellers having that huge market share combined, so it's a duopoly market structure, right? So you more likely have that kind of a thing in the real world than just having a market structure with just two sellers. You know. So yeah, that doesn't mean it does not happen, right? That doesn't mean it does not happen. Um, for example, look at Pepsi and Coca-Cola in Nigeria. In Nigeria, uh, um, they do a lot of advertisements, trying to like shade each other, and so on and so forth. But besides Pepsi and Coca-Cola now, so which other one do you know? So if you want to mention a product now, it's likely going to be one of the products that either Pepsi or Coca-Cola is producing. Because you would be wrong if you think that it is only Pepsi that Pepsi is producing, or that it's only Coca-Cola that Coca-Cola company is producing. No. So they also they engage in what we call product proliferation, like proliferating something, making something many, making many versions of something. So there's product proliferation. So they try to like produce different brands, different kind of products, are still within the same company just to gain more market share. You understand? So one of them may maybe like Coke. Coke may you may just find that Coke is more producing Sprite. I don't know if that is very accurate right now, but you may just find that kind of a thing, out. And then just Google it. Products produced by the Coca-Cola company and products produced by Pepsi company. So you see a lot of products. Some that you may even be thinking that you may have thought that they were probably competitors, and you just be surprised to see that it is this same company that's producing this particular product. So besides Pepsi and Coke, like I said, which other company do you have that is into soft drinks in Nigeria? Right. So there may be the Big Cola and all of that, but then are they as big as Pepsi and Coca Cola with how Nigeria is concerned? So you may also like say, okay, it's likely going to be a duopoly as long as it's come to soft drinks, right, in Nigeria. So like things like that. Now, what are some of the features of a duopoly? I think I've explained the meaning of duopoly, right? A market structure or an imperfect market structure that contains two sellers, right? So you can just be like that for the sake of like theoretically, so just leave it like that. And then what are the features of a duopoly? There are two sellers, okay. That's one. Then firms engage in they may sell homogeneous goods. They may, right? They may sell homogeneous goods, but I think for a bigger part of it, you say that they sell homogeneous goods, but they may and they may not. They may sell slightly differentiated products too, right? And I think that is even what is kind of more accurate because Pepsi and Coca-Cola don't produce homogeneous goods, but the goods are slightly, and it's when you drink this, when you take the drinks, you know that the tastes are different. All right, so we have that. They may sell homogeneous or heterogeneous products. I think that's more comprehensive. Then there are two sellers in the market. Um, High barriers to entry because why would there be just two sellers in a particular industry? So why are there not more? So the reason why we don't have more people or more businesses in that particular industry is because the barriers to entry is probably crazy. Not that it is impossible to break in, but like it's probably very, very high. Maybe high capital outlay, maybe the cost. It may be the government that is the reason. Maybe it's not giving licenses to other businesses like operating that industry. It could be technology of the existing businesses. They may have one nice technology like that that others may not be able to, have, that give them the economies of scale advantage. So it could be anything. It could be their reputation. Like people already like them, people vibe with them, and so like they won't really vibe with anybody that's coming in. Like they already like these songs that are there. So it could be brand image, brand reputation. It could be anything, right? But the point is there is high barrier to entry, and then there's a form of there's interdependence because duopoly is a type of oligopoly. Now, oligopoly is a market structure with few large sellers. Now, the sellers are not many, maybe two, three, maybe three, five, two, whatever, but they are very large. So duopoly is just a type of oligopoly that has only two sellers. Do you understand? So there's interdependence because what one company is gonna do, right? The other company is watching out for it. Okay, so if you take this move, so what should I do? So you see Pepsi and Coca-Cola, for example. Once Pepsi start advertising a particular way, just give it a short time. All right, you see Coca-Cola is going to react, so it's going to do something too. So there's interdependence among the businesses existing in a duopoly um, market structure. All right. Then there is competition. All right. There's competition, although they may want to like come together to act as a monopoly. All right. But then like to form a cartel and all of that. But like there's normally without things like that, without those kind of anti-competitive practices, right? There's competition between the businesses. They compete based on price, they compete based on product quality, they compete based on customer service, they compete based on anything. So there's competition, all right, among the firms. So what would be some of the advantages of a duopoly? All right, choice. Consumers have more choice since you have two companies now producing two different goods, so there is choice. I can either get this one or get that one. I compare to a monopoly now, right? So the advantage of a duopoly is like really sane compared to a monopoly. So a monopoly may give you less choice because it's the only one, right? But then in a duopoly, there will be more choice. Okay, there will more likely be you likely have more choice of goods and services than what you have in a monopoly. Again, efficiency. So duopolies are driven to being efficient because there is a competitor, and if you don't apply wisdom, right, or your business sense, you may lose customers to your competitors. Um, that drives you towards being efficient, right? Now, customers or consumers may enjoy lower prices than if it had been a monopoly, right? Because of that competition, everybody's trying to like also fight for customers. Do you understand? So, okay, maybe I should lower my price here, lower your price there. Just get a market share, just to get more people on your side. Do you understand? So you have that. You've spoken about efficiency. You've spoken about it also drives technology. Like it will lead to technological advancements, right? Because as a company, you want that market share. You want profitability. So you want a lot of profit. So what can you do? Okay, can we have an invention or an innovation that would help us like improve the quality of our products more than what the competitor is offering, or that will reduce the price of our products than the competitor is offering, or that we do both. So providing a better quality product, right, at a cheaper price. So just to get more customers on your side. So you have and when you're doing things like that, it develops your economy because there'll be more technological advancement, in the country. So what else is here? I think we're good. So how about disadvantages? There could be low consumer choice. Now this is kind of like funny because we said more consumer choice in the first time, and this one low consumer choice. There could be low consumer choice where the businesses are colluding. Okay, the duopolies instead of acting independently, competing against each other, they come together to act as if they were a monopoly. So that can reduce consumers' choice. So and then when that happens too, that can lead to that's going to lead to limited competition and its attendant disadvantages to the consumers. And of course, if the firms happens to collude, then consumers can be exploited. So in terms of prices, so they tend to now pay higher for what they shouldn't have paid, higher for. So And there might be limited innovation, just the reverse of what we said initially. Because now that two of you are coming together to act as if you were one, and two of you are agreeing under the table agreements, to act as one, to do the same thing, right? So once you do this thing, I do it too, like, so we are using style. So it may not be that obvious, and it may be that, okay, these firms are likely colluding. Do you understand? So that can lead to like slow rate of innovation. Because what's the point? Who are you competing with? So if you're okay, since you're not competing with anybody, why would you want to spend lots of money on research and development to develop a very great technology, right? That can help you to produce a very nice product at an affordable rate, to get more profits, more market share, as the case may be, than your competitor. Because now you don't even have a competitor when the two of you are coming together to act as if you're a monopolist. So yeah, that's about that. So we are going to be solving two mathematical questions on how to maximize the output of a how to we want to do profit maximization, like no, okay, yeah, profit maximization anyways. But the first thing that we're trying to want to do here is identifying equilibrium price and equilibrium profit, equilibrium quantity rather. You know, that condition is still the same as we've known before in the formal market structure classes. So where you have that's equilibrium output is determined where your MR is equal to your MC, your marginal revenue is equal to your marginal cost. And so the process to this is, you get your inverse demand function, get your total revenue, differentiate it, get your MR, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. So um, the demand function normally Q is a function of price, right? And then this can just be maybe A minus B P. Alright, so A is a constant, then minus B because there's a negative relationship between price and quantity demanded. If you don't understand this, you need to go back to your 101 or 201 or 104, whatever. So get what I just did there. Alright, so but in a duopoly, right, this Q is actually the sum of the outputs of the two firms. So that's the way it works, is the sum of the output of the two firms. And then um, the way it eventually works is that price, we get the inverse demand function. That's how we should do it. Inverse demand function is just that demand function that has price as its dependent variable. Right. So it just bring price like to this axis, then it becomes something like maybe um A minus maybe K Q, something like this. And P equals, let me even use A. Or should this still be A? Let me use something else. Let's say R minus KQ. So where P is now R minus K into bracket Q1 plus Q2. Don't worry, we'll solve two questions to make this clearer. So like this is like an example of an inverse demand function. So it is now this one. I know the question will give us TC. The question will give us a TC. So you multiply this by quantity, we get our TR, we get our MR, you put the MR to your MC, where your equilibrium quantity or profit maximizing quantity, then go back and get your price, etc. Okay, so let's just look at a question. So yeah, the question reads that assume there are two firms, each producing with a constant marginal cost function of 2. There are two firms, so you can tell this is a duopoly. It says each is producing with a constant marginal cost function of 2. So MC is equal to 2. Assume that the demand function for the product is defined as follows, and the demand function, which is your inverse demand function, is defined as P equals 100 minus 0.5 into bracket Q1 plus Q2. That's not a problem now. I've explained this earlier. All right. If firm 2 sets a quantity of 100, so firm 2 has already set a quantity of 100. Which means Q2 equals 100. All right. Next thing it says, what is the best response for firm 1? So what should firm 1 set if firm 2 has already set 200? All right. So what we are just going to do is we want to like find the quantity, the prox maximizing quantity of firm 2. So we'll just do P equals 100 minus 0.5 into bracket Q1 plus 100. Since firm 2 already choose 100, now P equals 100 minus 0.5 times Q1, then minus times plus, please. Minus, then 0.5 times 100 is 50. So P equals 100 minus 50 is 50 minus 0.5 Q1. So this is the demand function. This is the inverse demand function that firm 1, right, is now going to be working with, trying to maximize. Now recall that TR, the revenue is equal to P multiplied by Q, right? So for firm 1, right, so the total revenue, which I'll call TR1 is going to be equal to P multiplied by Q1. The inverse demand function multiplied by Q1, which is essentially 50 minus 0.5 Q1, then multiplied by Q1. All right, so 50 times Q1, your TR equals 50 Q1, then minus 0.5 Q1 square. So when we find the MR equals the TR, the Q1, the TR1 actually, and this is going to give us 50 minus Q1. All right, so I want us to quickly note something. Remember that the price function is same as the AR function, right? Like P is always equal to AR. You should have known this like in your 100 or 20 level. All right, and then there's something about these graphs for imperfect markets, that the slope of the AR function is half the slope of the MR function, or the slope. Okay, let me do this. So here you have, this is going to be your AR, and then what is here going to be your MR. So we say the slope of this guy, right, and the slope of this guy. So the slope of the MR is 2 times. So I'm not saying MR is twice now. I'm saying slope. So slope of MR so is 2 times, equals 2 times slope of AR. I just want to like get that out of AR. Like if you've memorized that before, then it's okay. So what am I trying to like tell you about this? The slope here, if you do the P the Q, right? Since it's also the AR function, your slope is minus 0.5. Now, like AR is same as this person, minus 0.5. Now, by the time it comes to your MR, the slope here must be 2 times the slope of the MR. So 0.5 multiplied by 2 is minus 1. That's why you have minus 1 here. This one is same as 1. Yeah, I hope you get that now. So the AR slope is 2 times the slope of the MR, rather. MR slope is 2 times the slope of the AR. Anyway, that's about that. So what we now do is, since we've gotten our MR, we now say to get equilibrium output, for firm 1, to get equilibrium Q1. All right, so we are now saying MR1 equals MC1. So MR1 is 50 minus Q equals, our MC has been given to be 2, like each of the components, each of the firms. This is 2. So when we solve this out, Q equals 50 minus 2, Q1 rather. So Q1 equals 48. All right, so in a duopoly where a firm has gone first, to pick, like to produce 50 units of output, to produce, is it 50? To produce 100 units of output, then the best response of the second firm is to produce 48 units. All right. So in this kind of market structure now, in this kind of duopoly, Q2 is the leader. Okay, if a firm is choosing its own output first, and then the other firm is now coming back later to go and decide what it should produce. So Q2 is the leader in this market. So we are going to talk more about this in our next lesson. Okay, looking at models that try to explain the interactions, all right, in a duopoly. But for now, we're just trying to do general, just to have a general understanding of how you work with these kind of things. So again, the best response of firm 1 is to produce 48 units, when firm 2 is producing 100 units. Let's look at the second question, after which we call it a day. So let's look at this kind of corny question. It's a little bit corny. Right? It says, suppose that the market demand function for a two firm equal market sharing cartel. All right. Suppose that the market demand function for a two firm, so that means there are two firms in this industry, two firm equal market sharing cartel. So equal market sharing simply means, so the output for the first person is the same as the output of the second person, right? So they are dividing the market into like two equal halves. Okay, what is even market share, right? Market share is the market share of a company is the percentage of the total industry percentage of the sales from the industry that is attributed to a particular business or that is attributed to the business. Let's quickly talk about that. Let's see market share of Guinness. Okay, well, let's even see the market share of Pepsi, for example. So Pepsi's market share would then be equal to sales of Pepsi, right, divided by sales of soft drinks, sales of soft drinks in the industry, the entire industry, then times 100 over 1. So sales of soft drinks divided by the sales from um, all the soft drinks in the industry multiplied by 100 over 1. So it's a percentage something. So if Pepsi's sales were like 20 million, and the sales of all the soft drinks in that industry in that year was like 400 million. So just to multiply by 100. And then we're having, is it 0 cancel 0, 1 over 20, right? 20 year 1, 20 year 5. So Pepsi's market share is 5%. So in the entire market, so Pepsi only has 5% market share after, this calculation. So this is how to like calculate market share. All right. So I believe it is clear now if you didn't get it from business studies in junior school. So this question is now saying that equal market sharing or companies. All right, two firms, equal market sharing. So what is they have a demand function. Their demand function is Q equals 120 minus 10p. All right, and then the total cost of each of the duopolists, the total cost of each of the duopolists expressed as 0.1 q square. Total cost of each of the duopolists expressed as 0.1 q square. So it now says determine each firm's profit maximizing price, profit maximizing quantity, price, and profit. Determine each firm's profit maximizing quantity, price, and then profit. So let's start. Solution. Okay. First, we have to convert this to the inverse demand function. So we're going to be having 10p equals 120 minus q. So it comes here. Divided by 10, divided by 10, divided by 10. So we are going to be having p equals 12 minus 0.1 q. So you see why when I started this class and I was introducing us to something like this, the first one that we did, this one was A and B. Then when we converted it to the inverse demand function, I needed to rename it. So I called what was here R and what was here maybe S or something. Do you remember? Because the values are not going to be the same. So look at this one here. Look at this one here. The value here was 120, but for this guy is 12. It's not the same thing. So if I use A to denote this, I can use A to denote this because that would mean that they have the same values. Now 10 is here, 0.1 is here. Do you understand? So sometimes it may be like this, and sometimes it may not be like this. If what was here had been 1, then I think we would have had like maybe the same thing. But it's just okay to denote them with different notations. So we have this no, why am I putting small q here? So it is still this big q. But in this case now, since they are sharing the market, that means q1. Let me first write this. The q of of the industry is going to be q1 plus q2. The output of both firms determine the total output, in the industry, and it says equal market sharing, which means q1 is same as what, q2. So I can just use one q to like denote the two of them, so which is same as q. I can just call them q instead of writing q1 q2. Two of you are the same thing. So that means this q here, the industry output, is now going to be equal to this q plus q. Like q is for the first company, the other company is also producing q again. So we are going to be having two q there. All right. So coming back here, so what's the implication of what we just did? Then we're going to be having price equals 12 minus 0.1 into brackets 2q. So p equals 12 minus 0.2q. All right. So what we are going to be having for both firms, we have to go and calculate our MR. So our way to get that, uh, from what I just taught you, it's still going to be equal to 12 minus, then this will be 0.4. Now I told that the slope of this one is, the slope of the MR is two times the slope of this person. But let's just use one after the other for the sake of others. TR is going to be equal to PQ, which is going to be equal to 12 minus 0.2Q, then close bracket Q. The price function is here and Q outside. So and that gives us 12Q minus 0.2Q squared. So MR is the TR, the Q. That will give us 12 minus 0.4. All right. Then we need to get our MC. So since TC equals 0.1 Q squared, so MC is the TC, the Q, which is then equal to 0.2 Q. All right. So to find the profits maximizing quantity, to find the equilibrium output or the profit maximizing output, anyhow you put it. Um, find the equilibrium output, MR. So you can see that I'm writing it, right? So this way that I'm writing it, that's the way you should write for your lecturer. Something like this. Like don't just jump and you got your MR, you got your MC, then next thing you just saw 12 minus 0.4 Q equals 0.2. Like guy, like how? What did you do? So like state this condition, not as that your lecturer knows it. So I can get all of your marks. So we are going to be having 12 minus 0.4 Q equals 0.2. Is this thing I guess is going to be correct? So 12 equals 0.2 Q plus 0.4 Q. So 0.6 Q equals 12. And then Q is going to be equal to, is this 720? I think it should be 20, right? Q is going to be equal to 20. Because 12 divided by 6 is 2, so 12 divided by 0.6 should be 20. So that means for each company, they produce 20 units. All right, for each company. What is going to be the price? Now, since the price, look at the price. You have to be careful. This is the price. The price is a function of the output of both companies, right? This price here is a function of the output from both companies, which we've simplified here to give us this. So this was simplified to give us this one. So like we use this function. And if you want to use this function, then that means you must do Q1 plus Q2 because big Q is representing the industrial output, the output from both firms. But like the one that we broke down, so here, I just use this. So I will call this equation 17. Don't mind where the 17 came from. I just want to name it something, right? Don't name things like that in the exam. All right. So from substitutes, I'll just say substitutes substitutes uh, Q equals 20 in equation 17 that I just manufactured. Now, so P will then be equal to 12 minus 0.2 into bracket 20. Alright, 0.2 is 2 over 10, right? So that should be 4. 12 minus 2 will give us 4. 12 minus 4 will then give us 8. So let's say 8 naira. Alright, so is it 8? Is it naira? What is the profit for each firm? Profit is just TR. Profit equals TR minus TC. So what's our TR? TR is price times quantity. So the price is okay. Anyhow, this is price times quantity multiplied by our TC. So price times quantity 8 multiplied by 20 because this is the profit of each firm. I know both firms are going to make the same profit anyway, since they have the same cost function. This question will not have been this straightforward if they add different cost functions. All right. So since they have the same cost functions, we would expect them like they are basically the same thing, like a repetition of like a doubling of one of the firm. That's the way I see it. It's like you have a firm and then you have like a second one. They are just the same thing, producing the same goods, having the same cost functions, right? So we have PQ minus P is 8, Q is 20. So here is going to be 160 minus our TC. This is our TC function. All right, and so when we want to like play with this guy, TC. Oh, good, you solved it. That's why I like you. You're so fast. So TC is going to be equal. Let's write it for my fans. 0.1 into brackets 20 square. Now 20 square is 400, right? 400 multiplied by 1 is 400, but multiplied by 0.1 is 40. So you have 40 in this place. So the profit equals 18 naira per company. Okay, for each of the firm, the profit. What did I just do? Okay, this is 120. The profit equals 120 naira. Yeah. So that's it. That's the end of the whole question. You can see that's an interesting one. So it's more of a word problem. All right. You have to like kind of think. Two equal market sharing cartel. No, the first time I saw this question, I just used this Q here, this Q, and I continued. Like I didn't even think of Q1 plus Q2. I just said Q out fine. Just but it's not like that because there are two firms, right? So you must show it. It is Q is Q1 plus Q2, and then they are producing the same thing. You don't just use one Q to denote the whole thing and have two Q, right? And then proceed like that. So let's have our assignments. You have this beautiful assignment. Assume that there are two firms in the market, firm one and firm two. The total demand for the identical products they make, so in this case, homogeneous product, is P equals 200 minus 2Q1 minus 2Q2. This is similar to what we've been doing since, so it can be expressed as P equals 200 minus 2 into bracket Q1 plus Q2. It's the same thing. Minus 2Q1 minus 2Q1 minus times plus minus 2Q2 to fine. Alright, so where Q1 and Q2 are the output of both firms respectively, and the production cost of firm 1 and firm 2 are C1 equals Q2 Q1 squared, then C2 equals Q2 squared. That's total cost functions. So A, if firm 2 produces 100 units, find the best response of firm 1. Then B, calculate the profit of both firms. Alright, see you in the next lesson. Bye.